Hey, what's up, Foreclosure Fix family? DJ Olojo here, and welcome to the #1 podcast to help you save your home when facing foreclosure. Now, if you've been listening to our content for any amount of time, you know we have a huge goal, which is to help 1 million homeowners successfully navigate foreclosure. Now, we can't do that alone, and we need your help. So please share our content with someone or some entity who you know it can help, whether it's a news outlet, a person facing foreclosure, or a business who works with those who may be facing foreclosure. We really want the message of hope to get out there, and we need your help to do it. We cannot do it alone. So with that, please check us out at theforeclosurefix.com, share our content. And if you have not received a copy of our latest newsletter, send us an email at help@theforeclosurefix.com. We'd love to get you on our email list, and we'd love to keep sharing this content and message of hope with those who need it. Today, I am fired up and ready to go. You know why? Because we are talking about the psychology of foreclosure. Yes, the psychology of foreclosure. When you're facing foreclosure, there are a couple of different things that are going on. There's your mental state and your process, but there's also the psychology of those around you, the bank who you owe the money to, the attorneys who you're dealing with, the servicer who you're dealing with. And so today we want to really dive into the thought process, the perspective of each of those parties, so that way you can be well informed on how to deal with the nuances of foreclosure and how to deal with your own psychology so you can make the best decision moving forward. As always, I'm grateful for you tuning in, and I just really appreciate every listener. I appreciate all those who actually not just listen, but who reach out. Recently, I had somebody reach out to me by the name of Thomas. Thomas, shout out to you. And he basically was like, I love your content. We need to collab. And so we had lunch the other day, and we're going to do some collaborations. And so I appreciate those who do listen to the content, but then also reach out. And the reason why it's so important is because I know that I can't do this alone. It's a huge goal, and I need every one of you to help me in that mission. So if you got an idea, if you got a suggestion, shoot me an email, help@theforeclosurefix.com. I definitely want to connect with you because I'm serious about helping people who are facing hard times. All right, so with that, we're going to dive into psychology of foreclosure. The best way I can put this psychology piece, right? And I'm not a psychologist. I don't have any degrees around understanding people or anything like that. All my degrees are in business. But what I do know and what I've learned from my experience with working with thousands of folks who may face foreclosure, there's so many different things that are going on in our lives that impact the way we think about the situations that we're facing. And so when we think about the psychology of foreclosure, I first want to address the psychology of the individual who's facing foreclosure. When you're facing foreclosure, your emotions are guiding you. A lot of times, many people who find themselves in financial hard times have not just been there for a couple months, but are perpetually in that cycle of hard times. Whether you're living paycheck to paycheck, whether you have a health illness or sickness and you haven't been able to recover, or that is just the lifestyle you have lived because you don't know any better or you haven't been taught any different. So many people live just one paycheck away. I think statistically, it's about 73% of people say they are just one paycheck away from losing their home or financial ruin. So that's one paycheck, one week of missed work, one direct deposit that doesn't hit at the right time, and they're behind. We see this a lot too when we deal with some rental properties, and some people will schedule their ACH before their paycheck hits. And what happens is the ACH comes out, they get declined, and then they incur a fee for ACH that didn't go through, and they get late fees on their rent. We see this all the time when people's car get repoed, where they are weekly payers on their car or monthly payers on their car, and they just get behind. They have to choose what bills they need to pay. See, those who may face foreclosure are not just always people who this just happened or fell out the blue, but they're people who oftentimes find themselves on that hamster wheel of just trying to make it day in and day out. And that's not a dig. That's not an insult. It's just the truth of the matter. And our podcast here is to help you get to the place where you don't have to be on that hamster wheel, where you can say, I can handle my bills. And so the psychology around foreclosure is really understanding exactly what's going on. What happened that got you in this foreclosure state? What happened that got you in the mindset of, I cannot continue to pay this bill for the roof over my head? And so as you think about that, as you think about how you deal with your foreclosure situation and what got you there, the question becomes is, how do you get out? How do you move from a place of, I'm just in foreclosure and I don't know what to do, to getting hope and making decisions? Well, there's a couple different steps in that process. And before we dive in that process, I want you to understand the psychology of the other parties involved, the psychology of the bank. The bank who's made the investment has said one of two things. One is a certain percentage of our portfolio is going to go delinquent. And delinquent means that you're going to stop paying for whatever reason. So their algorithm basically says that a certain percentage, maybe 5%, maybe 4%, maybe 10% is going to go delinquent. So the bank is ready for people to not pay. It's just part of the math. It's the reason why you may see the interest rate being higher on certain type of credit products, whether it's credit cards or car loans or mortgages. The bank, the lender, has made a mathematical calculation on the percentage of folks who are not going to pay them back. They understand they won't pay them back. And so they are not upset about it. Obviously, they want their money, but they understand the psychology around it. It is part of the process. It's baked into the equation of being a lender. That being said, they also know that they have collateral. And the collateral is the home that you live in when you're facing foreclosure. And that collateral for them is something that they can use to regain or recoup the investment they made. And so banks consider this one of two ways. If they're a big bank with lots of global reach and they don't want the headline risk, the psychology for them is to say, we are not going to foreclose on these individuals. We're either going to write off the debt and get a tax deduction from Uncle Sam, which they do sometimes, or we are going to sell off the debt and let someone else who doesn't have headline risk deal with recollecting that money. And they're going to sell at a discount. Either way, they're going to take a loss. But again, they bake that into the equation. So when they write it off or when they sell off the loan, the next lender has also baked into the equation that they are now going to pursue this debt more actively. And they understand that they're going to have to take it all the way to foreclosure. And so what happens when you see loans transfers or when you see attorneys reaching out to you, the lender on the other end realizes and is prepared to take this all the way to the finish line. And so when you think about the psychology of the bank, they may delay, they may wait, they may be patient, but they are prepared mentally and financially and with the resources to take this all the way to the finish line of foreclosure. And so let's juxtapose this to the position of the homeowner who's facing foreclosure, right? The homeowner is just in an emotional state. You're on a roller coaster of emotions. Maybe you are perpetually used to just being in a bad financial spot. Or maybe you're the rare person who said, maybe I just got sick and I was out of work for 4 months and now I'm facing foreclosure. That's a rare situation that it happens often to people who don't even expect it. You're healthy one day and then for some reason something happened. It happens all the time. Or maybe you're the person who says, I just forgot. I got the money. I just need to reinstate the loan. The biggest thing you can do when you are facing foreclosure to get you out of the mindset and get you out of your own head and get you through the stages of grief that happen with foreclosure is making a decision. The one thing I see that helps people move forward in foreclosure faster is making a decision of if they want to keep their house or if they want to sell their house. That one decision is the catalyst for you moving forward at a significant rate. It's the catalyst for you not being stuck like a deer in headlights. It's the catalyst around the psychology of foreclosure, making a decision of if you want to keep your house or if you want to sell your house. That is the most important thing you can do when you're facing foreclosure. Let me repeat that. Making a decision on if you want to keep your house or if you want to sell your house is the number one thing you can do when you are facing foreclosure. So what do? You're in a situation, you're going through the stages of grief, right? You have denial, you have anger, you have bargaining, you have depression, and then you finally get around to acceptance. You understand the situation, you accept what's going on. Woe is not me anymore. And what do? You have to make that decision. Am I going to keep my house or I'm going to sell my house? That decision is the catalyst to move you forward and get you to the place you need. Recently, I had a chance to take a cruise. And on that cruise, I was just struck with a sense of how I think people who are facing foreclosure act sometimes. If you've ever been on a cruise and you're out in the middle of the water, not when you just like are leaving the dock, but you're out deep in the middle of the water, so deep that when you look around on all four sides, you can no longer see land. The analogy or the expression I have for people who are facing foreclosure is they're like that cruise ship out there in the middle of the water, and you can't see land anymore. And the cruise ship is broken down. The engines are stopped working and you have nothing you can do. And instead of calling for help and getting a helicopter to come in and start saving people, calling for additional cruise ships to come help you, you jump in the water and you start swimming towards land. And although that may seem like a good idea for about, 30 minutes, when you start swimming and getting so far away from the cruise ship and you still can't see land, you know that it's not going to end well. Versus when you ask for help, when you call in the resources, when you get the help you need from attorneys, from legal aid, from your lender, it's almost like calling in a search and rescue to come get you and save you from that boat. And it's nothing wrong with that. There is no stigma in asking for help. And so that's the thing around the psychology of foreclosure. It's not about you. It's not about what you think. It's not about what other people are going to think about you for asking for help. It's all about solving the problem. And the only way you can solve a foreclosure problem is by getting help. Getting help from your friends, getting help from your family, getting help from those out there who are looking to be a resource for you. And there are so many resources for you. If you check out our website, The Foreclosure Fix, you will see tons of links to resources. The government has free resources for you. The psychology of foreclosure is all about getting out of your own way. It's about taking ownership and saying, this is my problem to solve, but I don't have to do it alone. I don't have to solve it alone. I don't have to have all the answers. I don't have to have all the solutions, but I have to let people know that I need help. Because closed mouths don't get fed. And if you don't ask for help, you will never get it. What I want to leave you with today as you think about your situation facing foreclosure is that the sooner you reach out, the sooner you make that decision of if you want to keep your house or sell your house, the better the outcomes are. 100% of the time. The sooner you make the decision, the better the outcomes are. Y'all, that leads me to my favorite part of the podcast, which is our bow tie round. It's where you, our listeners, get to tie one on with your host, DJ Olojo. The B in foreclosure, the B in bow tie round stands for your best advice for someone facing foreclosure. The O stands for the one thing you're grateful for. And the W stands for your wildest or most interesting foreclosure-related story. My best advice for somebody facing foreclosure is make a decision. Keep your house or sell your house. That is the most important thing you can do when you're facing foreclosure is make a decision if you want to keep your house or sell your house. That is why the psychology of foreclosure is so important, because if you make that decision, you can start taking steps to move forward. The one thing I'm grateful for, I am grateful for the simple pleasures in life. Yes, the simple pleasures in life. We are in Georgia and school is out for most students, or they'll be out in the coming days or by the time this podcast airs. One of the things that my daughter wrote on one of her assignments, her teacher asked her, what is your favorite thing to do? And she wrote that my favorite thing to do is take a hot shower and listen to music. And her teacher wrote back on the paper, like, girl, me too. And that was just so funny to me because it's a simple pleasure of life. The fact that you can just get in a hot shower and relax and listen to music, that's what you enjoy. That's what you come looking forward to. That's your calm place. It just tickled me. And it just reminded me that there's so many things in life that when we're stressed out and we're facing things like foreclosure and we're facing health illnesses and sicknesses, we have to pause and just say, those simple pleasures of life, the ability to look at the sun, or not directly at the sun, please don't do that, but the ability to see a sunset, or to look at the moon at night, or to hold the hands of your significant other, or to kiss your kids on the forehead. Those simple pleasures, to pat your dog on the back, to eat a nice meal. Those simple pleasures are just so important, and we should just never, ever forget them or take them for granted. And so that is my one thing, which is many things I'm grateful for. My wildest or most interesting foreclosure-related story comes from a situation that I recently got inserted into. And the reason I say I recently got inserted into is because I wasn't looking for this situation, but it just happened to come my way. And so I'm trying to help out. And the situation is like this. Someone was facing foreclosure and they put their house on the market. Houses in this neighborhood sell for about $400,000. So it's a pretty nice neighborhood. And they put their house on the market for $325,000. So $75,000 below what the other houses were asking. And so you would just think this is a great deal for a house in a neighborhood like this. You're getting a huge discount. But the house did have some repairs and did need about $50,000 worth of work. And so it was a decent discount, but it wasn't just a significant discount when you factor in the work that was needed. This is about 90 days before the actual foreclosure sale is supposed to take place, but they list the property for sale. So they did the right thing. They made a decision on what they want to do. They want to sell the property. And so they took the right steps. They got a licensed professional to help them list the property on the open market. So it's getting maximum exposure. And so they did all the right things, all the things we tell you to do here at the Foreclosure Fix. But what was going on? They were not getting any offers. And why weren't they getting any offers? It's because the house was difficult to show. And when I say difficult to show, I mean that to get inside the house, to see the house, besides the pictures they listed online, was a significant hassle and pain. Furthermore, the homeowners had 4 dogs. And not little small dogs like little lap dogs that you can just take around, but I'm talking about 4 big dogs, the type of dogs where when you saw them, you were going in the other direction real fast. And the reason why the home was not moving was because people could not get in. And then when people got into the house, they were scared off by the dogs. Who wants to try to look at a house you want to live in when you got dogs barking at you and you can't even fully enjoy walking through the house or the visit? It makes it a very strenuous and agitating process when you're trying to walk through a home and you got dogs barking and they sound like they're just ready to come jump off your head, like you're invading their space. And so in that scenario, these folks are probably going to either, 1, end up in foreclosure, or 2, have to take a price that is significantly lower than the $325 they're asking for. You know, if I was a betting man, I would assume that property is going to sell for closer to mid-2s. And the reason why is because they have not done everything they can do to successfully market that property and allow access to the property. Because there are 2 things when you're selling real estate. One is marketing and getting the message out there. They did that correctly, but allowing access for those who are interested to see the property, vet the property, and make their own determination on what they want to offer is the other part. And that part is equally as important. And so just keep that in mind when you are going through the process of selling your home, that marketing is key, but also access and accessibility and the way the house looks and feels is equally as important. So if you have pets when you're facing foreclosure and you're selling your house, you definitely want to either put those pets up or take them with you so that people can see your house and not be bothered by animals, especially if they have allergies or if they're just afraid, especially when you got big pets. You know, some people just don't like those. And so at the end of the day, that is my wild or interesting foreclosure story. I hope it works out for those folks, and I'm going to try my best to help them. But in some scenarios, when you get called too late, it's nothing you can do. With that, that leads me to the end of this podcast. As always, I am so grateful for everyone who checks us out, who listens in, who sends us feedback, who likes and subscribes. We appreciate y'all. And again, this mission to help 1 million homeowners is a hard one, but I'm excited about the journey. I'm excited about all those who are coming along. I'm excited about everyone who's a part of the Foreclosure Fix family. And most of all, I'm excited about you. Thank you so much for listening. I love you. God bless you. And I'll see you soon. The views and opinions on this podcast are for informational purposes only and should not be construed as legal advice. If you have a specific legal question, we highly recommend you contact a qualified legal professional.